Hey guys, it's Chubby Candy, and today we're going to be doing an X-base cuff. I don't have one to show you, but I have an example. I have it in a 3D. It's this X part that's inside. It's kind of dark so you can't see, but it's the X part on the inside of the 3D. And just kind of ignore the background noise. I have my sister over here. She's over here making candy also. Okay, so to do this, you're going to need a base color. I'm going to use yellow, and you're going to need a connector bead, and I'm going to use pink for this. And ideally, the size that I'm going to do is the normal 30, and if you want to make it bigger or smaller, you have to go up or down by 3s. So say you have say this is 30, like I have all my 30 right here, and I want to make it bigger, you have to add 2 more base beads and another connector bead as all these beads start rolling around. So, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to continue this pattern all the way around until you have something like this. So 2 base beads, connector bead, 2 base colored beads, connector bead. And when you tie it off, it's just like a single. You're going to cut off the short ends and leave a long tail with as comfortable as you're working with. Okay, so since I already have my single done prior to the video, you're going to make sure you're coming out of a connector bead, and you're going to string on 3 base colored beads. And you're going to string through the next connector bead. So I'm coming out of this one, we're going to go to this one. String it through there and just pull. And make sure every time you do this to pull tight. Add 3 connector beads. And since we are coming out of this connector bead, we're going to go to the next connector bead and just string through it. Okay, and sometimes it'll be a point and sometimes it's not. You just kind of pull it out and make sure you're pulling tight the entire time. Don't pull super tight to where you break the string. Just pull tight enough so you get that tension on your string so it'll start to stand up. Okay, and do that all the way around until you get to this bead. Okay, so now that we are on our last one, since we are coming out of this bead, we're just going to continue stringing through the next connector bead like we have been. Pull tight so that way you get that tension. And all you're going to do to go up to the next row is string through these 2 beads. So you're going to be coming out of this top bead right here. Okay, so now we are coming out of this bead. We're actually going to, just like the connector beads, except for we're going to be stringing through the next point bead. Okay, so now we're going to use a base color bead, a connector bead, and another base color bead. And we're just going to string to the next pointer bead, sorry. Okay, so make sure you pull tight, and it's not going to stay standing up like that as you move along. Okay, so again, base colored bead, connector bead, base colored bead, and just string to the next point. And this is the point where it should start standing up just a little, so as you build up, it'll stand up. See, it's not really going to stand up until we get the next one on there. As on this one, I'm going to do 2 layered X's, since this is 1 X right here. So we're going to do a next layer of yellow beads, just all yellow, and then another layer of the connector and base color beads. So go ahead and add on your base color bead, connector bead, base color bead, all the way around until you get to this point. Okay, so we're on our last point, and we're going to add a base color bead, connector bead, and base color bead, and we're just going to string through the same pointer bead we've been stringing through. So just go ahead and string through there. Don't worry about if you end up going through this bead, because that's what we're going to do anyways. So to go to the next layer so we can create the next layer of beads, what we're going to do is we're going to string up through this bead and this connector bead. Just go ahead and string up through there so you are coming out of this connector bead. And kind of pull tight so you can start to get a little tension on there. And it should start standing up on this one. Now, if you were to end it off right now, all you would do is add 2 base color beads and just string through all the pointers. Just add 2, string through the connector bead, add 2, and just go all around. But I mean, that kind of makes it really small. But for this one, you just gotta add 3 base color beads and string through the next connector bead. Sorry. So you just string through. Make sure you are pulling tight because it should start standing up. So it starts to actually look like an X base cuff right now. And this is going to be the next layer of X's. So 3 base color beads and string through the next connector bead. And do that all the way around until you get to the next one. Maybe my string doesn't like to stay straight, so I can work with it. Also, I forgot to mention that these X base cuffs do take quite a few beads. I mean, I made this one, and it's actually really big, like really big. And I had this entire thing full. Like, I'll pick it up and show you. But I had this entire thing full. Like, all this was red, all of this was blue, and this was like full, halfway full of blue, and I used all of that. And then this was full of yellow. I ended up having to pull out this so I don't use all my yellow. But they do use quite a few beads, so if you don't have a lot of one color, you can use many different colors. So just keep in mind, I don't have an exact bead count because that kind of depends on what size you're doing, how tall it's going to be, and all that. Okay, so I had to get out more beads, so it took a little while, but I got it. Okay, so we're on the last one again, and just going to add your 3 base color beads, sorry. I can't talk today. And you're just going to keep stringing through the connector beads like you have been. So, if I can get it in there. That's why I like using a needle. It's like way easier than trying to string it through with your fingers. Okay. See, mine's standing up. And since you're coming out of this connector bead right here, you're going to string through these 2 beads so you're coming out of this one. Okay, so it's kind of a pattern. You use your 2 base beads, connector, and do your single like that, and then you do all yellow, in my case, all base color beads, and then you do connector beads, and it's just kind of a pattern. So now we're going to do a base color bead, connector bead, and a base color bead. And you're just going to string through the next middle bead. Make sure you're pulling tight still, because now it's really starting to stand up. Okay, so base color bead, connector bead, and base color bead. And just string through the next middle bead. And do that all the way around until you get to the last one. And I'll show you how to end this off with the 2 beads. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips while I'm doing this. Okay, so when doing X-base cuffs, if you use string that's old and like not as newish, I guess you could say, then, and if you don't do it a certain way, and you don't like, I'm trying to like figure out how to explain this. But, okay, so I used this string once, and it was kind of flimsy, and it wasn't the best quality. It was like cheap string is pretty cheap. It's just, it was like eBay, and I couldn't tell like how it was. So I tried to make an X-base cuff with it, and it wouldn't stand up at all. Like, it was just, I think I still have it. Yeah. No, this is a different one. But it like wouldn't stand up, and it was just like all flimsy and pretty gross, and it just wouldn't do what I needed to do. So if you don't use new tougher string, then it's not gonna stand up unless you're pulling like super hard, but then you have the ability to, you know, break the string. And okay, like this is this, as I just literally throw that and it unravels. Okay, here, I'll show it to you. Just roll this back up. There's a box sitting on it. Okay, so like I'll show you the two differences. Okay, so this is the string I got off eBay. It is really bad, but it's really stretchy though. So I use it to make singles, so I don't have to waste it. But it's like 100 yards, I think. But it's really thin, so it doesn't look like there's very much. Looks like there's a lot, but there really is. Okay, and so you can tell the difference. Like, yeah, this string, it doesn't like to do what you need it to do. Okay, so we're on our, okay, back to the X-base cuff. Okay, so we're on the last one. Just keep stringing through the middle point like you have been. You know, kind of pull tight so you can keep it up. Okay, and so now we're going to do the ending because we have our 2 rows of X's. And the way to tell that it's 2 X's high is by this part right here. Not by the connector beads. Because then you're like, oh, I have 2 high row X, like 2 X's high, but you don't. This part is just the bottom of it. This is the X's right here. The connector beads, when you do the, like the 3Ds and the epics, sorry, I can think of what it was called, is the connector beads are like what you string through, which I'm also going to do a video on that. So this would be 2 different points and rows of X's on top of it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to end it off. Okay, so you're going to string up to your connector bead again, and this time you're just going to add 2 of your base color beads and just string to the next connector bead. Pull tight, because then it'll really make sure it stands up. So just 2 base color beads, your next connector bead, and do that all the way around. Okay, so I'm on my last one, and you're just going to continue stringing through your connector bead like you have been. Okay, and now all you have to do is tie off your X-base cup. So what I like to do is I like to be in between beads on the top. And if you're going to do an X-base cuff, you don't, or not an X-base cuff, sorry. If you're going to do a 3D, you don't have to tie it off. You can just keep going and just string through this connector bead so you can just keep going. But I'm going to tie it off just so it stays, so I feel safe. You just do a typical and basic square knot, pulling tight. No, and if you don't know what a square knot is, it's the first step of tying your shoes. When you cross, but you just go under, up through, and you put your, like, say this is the end of my string, you just put it through the hoop. And just pull tight. And just cut off the extra, but this is going to be a 3D, so I'm just going to leave it on there. But you just cut off the extra, and now you have your X-base cuff. If you guys have any questions, just comment them below, or message me on Instagram, or anything. Just, if you like this video and think I did a good job, just give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you.